6 Days in Fallujah is a new military shooter that is aiming to come out later this year. This is a resurrected project that was cancelled in 2010. The game focuses on telling the stories of the military members along with the citizens within the city of Fallujah during this conflict. The game was originally cancelled for its controversial nature of being a military-themed game set in an ongoing war. Even in its first iteration, this was shaping up to be a game that focused on the realism of the events, and it wanted to take on a more survival horror-like feeling to the gameplay. In February 2010, a new developer and publisher picked up the project and are aiming to finish and ship the game by the end of the year. This has sparked a lot of hate to be thrown the game's way, and many people are calling for the game's outright cancellation. One indie developer and vocal individual within the games industry made a short video with his thoughts on the first gameplay trailer. He takes issue with the game featuring a random generation of the environment so that each time the player plays the game, it is different. He states that since the insurgents and potentially the innocent Iraqis are randomly positioned within the random generation, that this dehumanizes the innocents who were in this area. I think this is a huge jump and a huge accusation to make considering that he hasn't played the actual game yet. He makes additional comments about how the Iraqi perspective is not being presented at all, but the entire back half of the trailer is dedicated to showing this side of the conflict. The 6 Days in Fallujah website makes a point to state that the developers are aiming to show both the military members' perspective of the conflict, along with the people who live there. This is further elaborated on by how the game will feature documentary-style interviews with military members along with Iraqi civilians who were affected by this conflict. It is pretty obvious that Rami is not happy with this game and is trying to paint an inaccurate picture of it considering that he only has the trailer to go off of and hasn't played it for himself. We currently do not know if this developer will nail the execution of their intended vision. Some comments related to the Twitter video are really odd. Alana Pierce, who is a video game personality and now a writer for Santa Monica Studios, who are currently working on the new God of War, said that she was advised to not cover the issues within the game because it could threaten her visa status. This seems extremely outrageous and completely unheard of for providing criticism for a video game. Another thing that I found very concerning was how the lead game designer for the new Gotham Knights is advising people on Twitter to sign a change.org petition to cancel this game. He states that the game will normalize and trivialize the murder of Iraqis. I find this very odd considering that the developers of 6 Days in Fallujah have stated on their own website that they want to tell the story of the US military along with the Iraqi civilians. The enemy within the game would be individuals who are part of a terrorist organization, not innocent people. So based on what the developers have stated, they are trying to share different perspectives of the conflict, not normalize or trivialize the murder of Iraqis. Now this is all in the execution of the game, but based on the information that we have now, and since no one has played the game yet, we cannot really make a judgment on their execution of it, only on the intent of their project. This is also a dangerous slippery slope for another game developer to want another game to be cancelled, because they do not agree with that game. The shoe could easily be on another foot. My point with this is to show how other game developers and games media people are calling for this game to essentially be cancelled, without even playing the game, along with making these judgments on a game that they haven't even played for themselves. If you want more information on this, please check out Eric's article on the game along with Sophia Narwick's, as both of these individuals provide more information on the controversy surrounding this, and I consider them trusted sources. Now that we have discussed the controversy surrounding the game, I want to discuss my take on what we know so far. The idea of experiencing a first-person shooter within a more modern conflict situation is really interesting. From the trailer, there is an indication that this is going to be more of a tactical experience rather than a run-and-gun shooter. For one, you get to issue simple commands to your squad. This can provide you with situations where you have your squad mates lay down suppressing fire and you can try to circle around and take out the enemy. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of the simple yet fun mechanics of Republic Commando. From the brief moments of gameplay that the developers have shown so far, the game looks to be going for a more realistic war experience rather than an action movie approach. The gameplay trailer brings up a really interesting idea for the gameplay. The battlefield seems to be procedurally generated to give off that feeling of never really knowing what you will encounter. In concept, I think this is a great idea. For one, this allows the player to potentially be able to experience what an actual soldier would experience each time you play the game. Also, Also, this potentially adds a lot of replay value to the game by providing this level of randomness to the levels. The gameplay seems to promote moving slowly and calculating your next steps carefully. Another thing is the general lack of any music for the gameplay. The dead air effect is very eerie and even put me on edge while just watching the trailer. Based on the gameplay trailer as well, the developers are incorporating the accounts of the US military along with the people who actually lived in Fallujah to help create this authentic experience. Based on the website, the game is going to feature documentary interview-like segments with service members along with Iraqi civilians who were affected by the battles. If done well, this could really work well in tandem with the intense-looking campaign. I do like the potential of hearing from different sides as from the military along with the civilians who were affected. I think this will hopefully allow the game to show the courage of the service members along with how the people of the city felt during these situations. With this project being conceived by a Marine who was badly wounded in the battle, this seems like a passion project as the game wants to tell the stories of sacrifice and courage from this war. But since the game is not yet released, the quality of the execution is all up in the air. But the potential of this team to properly execute the ambitious idea is definitely there. The developer is Highwire Studios, and while under this name, this would be their first game. But this studio consists of former Halo and Destiny 1 game developers. And if I'm not mistaken, Marty O'Donnell, the excellent composer of the many Halo games, along with Destiny 1, will be working on this title. With 6 Days in Fallujah being a first-person shooter, I think this is definitely within the wheelhouse of the studio. And since Marty is incapable of making bad music, you know the soundtrack will probably be memorable. I am definitely looking forward to this game. I understand that the subject matter can be considered controversial, but this game still deserves to be made. You may not agree with the game or even the story they are trying to tell, but this game most definitely deserves to be released. What I find frustrating is how many people who are voice actors, developers, and media people within the games industry do not like the approach of this game, and that must mean that the game must be cancelled. As I understand it, this is an American studio making a game focused on the stories of military members involved along with civilians there as well. Just because there is controversy surrounding this game, or it is a subject that a loud but probably small group of people do not like, does not mean that this shouldn't exist. Like I said before, I find it very concerning that even some game developers are trying to garner support to get this game cancelled because they disagree with the game. This is a very dangerous slippery slope to go down because the shoe could easily be on the other foot. I also do not appreciate how people are saying that this is not art or completely discrediting the game when none of us have even had a chance to play it yet. Now I understand someone saying that the execution of the game is being dishonest or in bad taste after they have played it, but to say that about the game before even playing the game or seeing it through is disingenuous. We only have the information on the game developer's website, a few trailers, and some interviews. You cannot get a true flavor or feel for a game until you actually sit down and play it. I do hope that this game is really great, as I really like the concept what has been presented so far. But the point of this video is not to defend this game because I think it could be good, but rather defend its right to even exist. I wish the developers the very best of luck on this project, and I can promise you that I will definitely be buying this game at launch. The people who consist of game developers, media people, voice actors, and anyone else calling for this game to be cancelled because you disagree with this project should be ashamed for your actions. Letting the hate mob dictate what games are allowed to be released is not what I want for this industry. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section, and thank you very much for watching.